A wise man once said, "Only 3 things in life are certain: death, taxes, and I can't get this fucking pour spout out of the Hendrix." Just kidding. I said that. Hey there. Welcome to episode 1 of Behind Bars, Cocktails, and Wasted Nights. I'm your host, Greg. I've been working as a bartender for over 20 years. None of it by choice. And over those years, I've seen a lot. My goal here is to share some of those high and low lights with you. Let's see. Where to begin? I suppose at the beginning, right? Before you get settled in, you'll probably need a drink. For this one, I recommend an old-fashioned. Grab a tumbler and a jigger. You'll need rye or bourbon. I prefer rye. An orange slice, Angostura bitters, some simple syrup, and if you don't have that handy, just use a half packet of sugar in the raw, and if you're doing it right, a Luxardo cherry. Pour your half packet of sugar in, or a 1/4 ounce of simple syrup if you're holding. Drop in an orange crescent and a Luxardo cherry. You want to drench that with 4 to 5 long dashes of bitters, or if you just open the bottle, go with 10. Muddle all that shit up. Then pour in 2 ounces of your favorite bourbon or rye. If you can't decide, High West makes a nice boo-rye combo. Fill the tumbler with ice, give it a nice stir, couple rotations, probably 10. If you don't feel like doing all that, a shot of tequila and a bump of some good shit'll do fine. Okay, bartending. Let's start with my first night ever behind the stick. Talk about falling into a career. Jesus. It was 1997, and I was attending college in Boston working as a busboy and barback when I finally got my shot to 10 bar one Saturday night. This was it. I was gonna be made. I'd been interning at WBCN, the CBS radio affiliate that had Howard Stern on in the morning, where my internship on that show will be in a future episode. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, interning. Because I was such a smartass, I got college credits for cracking wise on the air alongside the afternoon drive DJ Nick Carter. When that show was over, I walked across Boylston Street to Sophia's, exactly where Jeremy Renner eats it in The Town. My Jeremy Renner back in his Burbank acting class story will also be featured in a future episode. Anyway, where was I again? Oh yeah, there, at Sophia's, where I went from the regionally famous intern Studley to guy who carried 20 cases of beer up the back fire escape to stock up for the onslaught. I hauled the beer up the fire escape because the downstairs walk-in and the elevator were permanently on the fritz. Don't worry. It wasn't one of those zigzaggy ones. It was one really long flight of steel steps that would ice over in the winter and would take your drunken life at any misstep. Then I'd spend an hour cutting fruit, feeling the sting of citrus in every tiny cut of my fingers. And when you're a barback, you have a lot of tiny cuts on your fingers. Next, the bartenders would come in, give me $80 and send me to the Cocina to score a couple of G's off our line cook Juan Carlos. Yes, they were 40 each. It was 1997. Fucking inflation. By the way, be warned, these episodes will feature sex and drugs heavily. When it comes to the sex, I'm by no means bragging. I'm not even good at it. I'm not hung like a porn star, and I hate cardio. Also, I don't want this descending into Tucker Max territory, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say casual sex didn't come with the territory, no pun intended. However, when it comes to the drugs, I am absolutely bragging. I'm super good at doing them. What can I say? Cocaine just agrees with me. Any hoozlebees. On this fateful night, one of the 2 bartenders on my floor, Flannery, was down with the flu and couldn't come in, and management scrambled but couldn't field the replacement for Mike. Finally, my "Apox on both your houses" curse I cast weekly on my overlords worked. "All right, Studley, I guess you're bartending tonight," said Javier, the GM of this wildly popular 3-story Latin jazz bar. The first floor was a restaurant and bar with typically a live Afro-Cuban band. The second was a packed club scene that pumped out your standard Spanish boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants music to salsa and merengue to. And above that was the rooftop bar. I backed the second floor boots and pants bar, and that's where I'd be slinging. High volume, sweaty people, swinging merengue elbows that usually landed in my rib cage as I schlepped cases over my head across the floor when I was bar backing. I swear I learned how to dance just by dodging them. And tonight, I'd be pouring them all to gas. Holy shit. Oh, and I forgot to mention I was exhausted. Fridays were tough. I'd have Eastern philosophy at 8 a.m. for 3 hours coming off a barback shift that ended at 3 a.m. the night before. I fell into a routine where I dip out at that class's break, fuck my neighbor in the student union basement or my college radio suite if some classmates happen to be up at that ungodly hour on a Friday morning and in the union. Those stories will come up in more detail in future episodes as well. Anyways, after that I take a 15-minute nap, toss my pillow and blanket back into the locker I kept there, zombie trudge across Boston Common to my history of media class on Tremont for 3 hours, go be funny on the radio for another 4 hours, then walk across the street where Jeremy Renner bought the farm and carry shit. I slept on Wednesdays. I'm still tired from college. Okay, good. Now we're caught up. So, I've just been told I'm being handled the controls for the night. My butterflies were more like bats hunting at dusk. I busted out my flashcards, trying to remember how to make a fucking mudslide. Again, it was 97. You know, I don't know why people drink shit with milk or cream. How you gonna make out with people after that? So, Jesse, the guy I worked under for a year, sidled up to me. Jesse's nickname was the Manimal, and it was one of the many reasons I wanted to bartend. I looked up to bartenders like him, like they were Top Gun pilots without the math ability, like rock stars without the band money, fame, or musical talent. Dude just did blow, banged chicks, and always had fat stacks. He's fat and married now with twin girls. Karma's a bitch. Can't wait to see how he handles prom night in 10 years. "You're bartending tonight?" Jesse asked. His expression was a split of "I'm fucked" and a half smile that told me he was proud I was finally getting my moment in the strobe light. I nodded. He looked me in the eye, into my soul, trying to see fear, I think. Satisfied I was cool, he reached into his pocket, reached toward me. I held out my hand and he dropped a pill into my palm. "Here, take this. Don't do anything stupid." He walked away to set up as well. This quote has always been a private joke between us that has evolved over the years. Like, "Here, snort this line. Don't talk a lot, eat something, and don't fuck." Shit like that. So, I downed the pill and got back to my flashcards, wondering if he gave me an opioid, an upper, or what. Back before West Virginia ruined everything and the opioid crisis became a thing, we downed Vicodin and Percocets like Skittles. No one had a problem with addiction to them then. It was just a focus in, scratch your shins, move like rushing water, and pretend you're interested in conversation before things got too fast for talking. I felt this familiar tingle wash over me. Shit. I knew what this tingle was. The last time I felt this tingle was the first time I took the same kind of pill where I ended up half naked on my apartment lawn tickling myself with a sock. Again, future episode. I ran into the bathroom and looked in the mirror. Yep, my pupils looked like drink coasters. I ran back to the bar. What was that you just gave me?" I asked. "Ecstasy, the fuck you think it was?" Fuck. I thought I felt a synthetic warmth coming over me. Instead of panic, I smiled. This was gonna be great. What could possibly go wrong? Don't answer that. The crowd trickled in, and I was rolling hard, rolling my face off. Like each inhale and exhale was like a shiver. I was like, "What can I get you?" But I handled it. The first 10 guests weren't a problem. The hands were a little shaky, but I soon got my sea legs under me. After the just the tip intro to serving up the drinks and working the POS, things escalated quickly. The lights were down, the place was packed, Suavemente was throbbing through the speakers, and I looked over at Jesse, and his arms were flailing like Neo at the end of The Matrix, an octopus on 60 milligrams of Adderall. Then he looked at me and ceased all movement. Well, not all movement. He froze for a second, then dropped his head and shook it in sheer regret, but was laughing at the same time. This was because not only was I not making drinks, I had reached over the bar to massage this girl's hair and the nape of her neck. We started making out, and then she took off my pants, and then I turned on the TV. Just kidding. Either way, I was officially a bartender. "Greg, little help here?" he yelled. I totally heard it, and I totally ignored it. Poor guy hadn't even had a second to bump up in the restroom and was totally going it alone while I was tongue wrestling with some hot BU co-ed from Manhattan. Always the give me an inch and I'll take a mile kind of guy I am. My motto is, I'll try anything once, a lot. I got the bright idea to get up on the bar and practice my Latin dance moves I learned from dodging the crowd, and I pulled her up there with me. I'd be lying if I said I had moves, but it didn't matter. The people waiting on me for drinks, instead of being pissed, cheered for us. We were dancing, forward, back, the secret of the dance, all that shit. It was bliss. I was a fucking spectacle, and they loved it. Unfortunately, a good 5 seconds later, I stepped back and there was no bar underneath my foot anymore. As I began to fall, being the chivalrous guy I was, I grabbed my new girlfriend for purchase and ended up pulling her down with me. I landed hard. She landed on me harder. The crowd cheered louder. She got up laughing somehow. Thank God. Incident report avoided. Insurance left out of the equation. If I was hurt, I obviously couldn't feel anything from the MDMA coursing through my nervous system. As I got up, I spied Javier staring at me coldly from the dogleg of the bar. My fucking manager saw the whole thing. Shit. I shame-walked through the parting crowd to face my fate, eyed a huge pupiled eye. This job was my rent, my tuition, everything I needed to be the first in my family to get a degree. And despite that goal evaporating, I decided to somehow man up and make it easy for him to 86 me. He just stared at me in disbelief as I closed in. I leaned in so I could talk over the music into his ear. "I'm fired, aren't I?" I asked. Javier leaned back. He stared me down with angry eyes Mr. Potato Head would envy, my eyes lowered like a dog who just shat the shag rug. "Let me tell you something, Studley," he said. "It's all about the big show." I had no idea what the fuck that meant, and I had no idea where it came from or why I said it, but someone piloting my brain blurted, "I am the big show, Javier." What the fuck did I just say? Then as soon as he spoke, I was like, what the fuck did he just say? Because he came back with, "Yes, you are. Now get back behind the bar and make some goddamn drinks and try to stay on the floor this time." That was my first night bartending ever. So naturally after that introduction into my unintended career, I obviously had to stick with it. Wouldn't you? I remained employed with the company until I tendered my resignation in 2000 and moved to LA to finish college, where a ton of future episodes will be set. Well, it's last call, so let me give you a tip. If you order a Bloody Mary after 2 p.m., you're an asshole. No two ways about it. Folks, it's been a blast. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Thanks for listening, downloading, and telling your friends. We'll see you next weekend on Behind Bars, Cocked Tales and Wasted Nights. Cheers!